And now I'm starting to say my food's in non-plastic and yours is not. And I want to see hundreds of other companies start to make their food in organic. And when I say that I've empowered thousands of women to break the glass ceiling and thousands of minorities to reach equality that they never imagined, okay? Because it doesn't stop.
What's up, everyone? It's Josh Trent. This is a really special podcast today. This podcast, we're talking about the truth about glyphosate and the way that it affects our gut microbiome and our lives. This is a well-known thing in the scientific community, but today we have the CEO, my friend, a radical entrepreneur who has a unique story of his own, crossing so many thresholds. Dave Sandoval, welcome to Wellness Force, man, and also welcome to Facebook Live.
Brother, thank you so much for the invitation, and really stoked to be here.
Me too, man. You know, like I said, this is 6 months in the making. About November last year, actually, 8 months ago, one of my friends, Ronnie Landis, was like, hey, you know, I'm doing great in business and I'm selling all these organic superfoods and I'm changing people's lives. And I was like, that sounds too good to be true. What are you, some pyramid schemer? I had my money mindset. And so the road that led me to here and the excitement that I have when I get to bring you on the show and really show the face behind this company that I've been talking about for 6 months on the podcast, man. For people that don't know, Dave, like, what is Purium, man? What is Purium and how does it grow?
Well, you know, Purium is a blended word that I made up. You know, it's pure and premium. And I think that's what our food has to be, because the quality of our life actually is equal to the quality of our food and our thoughts. And if we have pure and premium food and pure and premium thoughts, then we're going to live like a pure and premium life, you know, and I call that the Purium life, the pure and premium life, the Purium life. And so the Purium life became the Purium company, you know, and Purium can only grow if people's lives are improved. Purium can only grow if the planet gets healed. Purium can only grow if people are both physically and economically enriched at the base level, at the root level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. The chakras we've spoken about with so many guests on the show. And right now, let's be honest, as we even explore this nuanced conversation of glyphosate and obesity and superfoods, there's a lot to unpack here today, man. But before we even get to that, I mean, think about the world that we're living in right now, Dave. There are people that their base root chakras are under attack. This is a perfect time for people to get really clear about how are you making your money? Is it in integrity? Are you making your health in the same way? Do you have the same integrity when you approach your health that you do your finances? Without getting too deep in the weeds, where do you think we actually are from an economic perspective when we look at the health industry and also people's health on the planet?
I think that we're at the conflux of a lot of different interests, you know, that are coming to a head. And I'm not the person who's going to sort all that out. That's just not my job.
Yeah.
My job is to take care of humanity, Every man, woman, and child, every child of God is on my team. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to let, you know, the angels figure out the other stuff, and I'm going to take care of God's children in the meantime. And we've been doing that for a long time, you know, because if this is a temple, right? And if we bring gifts to the temple and the gifts we bring are poisonous to that temple and we are built in the image of our God, then there's something wrong if we're bringing poison into the temple that's the image of our God. And that's where my battle is. It's not with any, it's not with anything else.
Yeah.
It's that which would harm the children of God. That's where my battle is.
Yeah, and when you say God, you're not talking about a bearded guy in the sky. You're talking about the energy that encompasses all things. You and I got the pleasure of chatting last week a little bit, and I just really was impressed with your knowledge of a wide range of subjects, way beyond health, man. People don't know this about you, and let's start here. You actually were homeless at one point. I'm like, this guy runs a multi-million-dollar company. You help people with their health all across the planet. Before we get into glyphosate and Purium even deeper, give people a little bit of your background, Dave. What did you learn when you were homeless, and can you even share with us that journey?
Well, everybody in life has to make these choices sometimes between the lesser of two evils. You know what I'm saying? And for me, the lesser of two evils was not being in a household that was highly abusive and alcoholic and, and filled with, darkness for me as the youngest child, and sort of, in an area that there just wasn't a lot left for the youngest child, and so I decided that, that gangs and the street were sort of, an outlet. But I had to make a choice. I had to make the choice whether between me and abusive parents or an abusive society, and I made the choice for me. So, yeah, I slept under trees and I ate out of trash cans and I never finished high school. I'll admit all that stuff, It's like 8 Mile. What else could you say about me,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'll say it all about myself. You don't have to say that about me. But I'm good with what I did with that, Like the world made me what I was at 16 and 17, but I made me what I am today. And that's what I want to challenge people to do is take responsibility. Stop blaming other people. You are the master of whatever you could be, and it starts right now today. And that's not just words, that's real. From a guy who slept under trees and ate out of trash cans and was called an animal because of the way I smelled and the way I looked.
Wow, the I can't even imagine, like, first of all, being homeless, because downtown San Diego here and, Skid Row in Los Angeles, like, my heart goes out to anybody that doesn't have a home. But what was it about your road from literally being called an animal to founding a multi-million dollar company? Like, what did that road look like?
Well, it was so complicated, but I'll take you to one point that I know was a turning point. Could I share that with you?
Please, yeah.
So there was a big storm, and it's hard to live under trees near the beach when there's a big storm. You're in San Diego, you know that, right? The wind whips up, the sand flies through the air, waves like crash, and like it's moist and freezing, Well, not in San Diego maybe, but but it gets cold, and so
Yeah.
and so what I saw it as an opportunity, though. I go, wow, all these rich people's homes just got like really messed up by this massive storm, and all their tree branches are down, their pretty lawns are destroyed. I'm going to go up with a rake and a bag that I borrowed from my friend, and I'm going to offer to clean up rich people's lawns, and I'm going to earn enough money, right? It's going to be good stuff. I'm going to take advantage of this thing, right? So I go up and I knock on the first lady's door. I knock on, she says, sure, I'll give you $5 to clean up my yard, and then she disappears, and so I'm almost done cleaning up. It looks great. I'm looking at the neighbor's yard, looking at hers going, wow, when she comes out and sees this. So all of a sudden I see her appear over the fence. She's putting her head over the fence, and she goes, and I think she's about to offer me a sandwich or maybe a cold drink or to thank me, but instead she's looking past me, and I see a police car roll up. And she goes, that's him, officer. And I'm looking around like, who? I'm going to get him for you, ma'am. But it was me. So he comes up, he says, hands on the car, right? Take position. And I'm like, what's going on? He says, you're trespassing. I said, no, I'm working. He says, no, you're not. You're soliciting. See that sign? No trespassing, no soliciting. I said, but the lady said, yeah, the lady thought you'd kill her if she didn't say yes. And then she called us. And I'm sitting there and I wanted to hate her so bad as I'm getting handcuffed, right? He's trying to push my head into the car. If you've ever been there, it's not a fun place to be, right? And so I made a decision right then. And I said to the woman, I said, thank you. And the cop says, shut up, punk. And I said, no, give me a second. I said, ma'am, thank you. And she said, for what? I said, well, all I wanted was something to eat and to get out of this storm, and you gave me that. And it would have taken me cleaning 8 houses, to get food and enough for a cheap hotel. But I'm getting 2 nights and 4 meals because of you. I said, so thank you.
Hmm.
And the cop said, oh, he threw me in the car, But it was real. I made a decision to love her instead of hate her and to not blame anybody, you know? And I think that did it.
Wow, man, you gave me chills, Dave. Thank you for sharing that, because so many people struggle with family upbringings, childhood that doesn't set them up for anything other than challenges later on in life. But there was some kind of soul contract, man. There's some kind of deeper, obviously massive purpose that you were put here on the planet to do and be and fulfill. There's no way in that moment when you're on the police car that you would have ever even assumed Purium would be a multi-million-dollar company. Did it ever even occur to you that that was true?
Yeah, well, there was no Purium in my mind then, There was just trying to find something that people threw away that I could still eat. That's all that was on my mind right then.
It was survival, but you crossed this gap, and this is what we always explore in the show, man. This is why I'm so excited to share your story and share this brand. This is why I love Purium, straight up, because Purium represents so many things that we believe in, and that is intelligence of the mind, body, and soul. Like you said, pure and premium. So many people out there are accosted with information all day long, man. They get inundated with I should believe this influencer. I should look at this website. I should trust the CDC. I should trust the WHO. That's a whole different podcast. But when we look at the truth about how glyphosate is actually impacting us, there's, I think, no greater threat to our health and especially our gut health than glyphosate. With your expertise and all you've done to research and come out with this product really that helps heal glyphosate, can you first start and just share with us what is glyphosate? Why should we care? And what is this quotient and how it relates to obesity with glyphosate?
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much for jumping, into something that I'm so passionate about because glyphosate's been around, believe it or not, initially since 1980, probably about when you were born. Yeah.
That's right. I was born in 1980. You got good. That's good, man.
Yeah. So it comes around 1980, and at that time, things like autism, Alzheimer's, obesity, they're really low on the radar. Fatty acid, liver disease, I could go on. And in my book, it's free download, by the way, I hope you'll share it. In my book, I actually give charts and I show year by year, decade by decade, the increased use of this chemical. And as the chemical increases, so do these diseases across the spectrum. And when you wonder, well, how could one chemical cause such a diversity of diseases, you have to understand because of what it does to the body. It destroys the nerve center, if you would, of our immune system. It destroys the nerve center of our digestive system. And believe it or not, it destroys our mood. It literally is a depressant. It destroys our ability to produce hormones that control our emotions. So when we can't control our emotions, we can't control our weight, right? Then a lot of things go wrong. And this is all tied together, which we'll talk more about. But the bottom line is that, this chemical called glyphosate, if you'd like, I could tell you what it is and how it became so dangerous.
Yeah, we know from the court case last year, the Supreme Court, there was a gardener who had cancer, and it was directly caused through scientific research from glyphosate. But beyond that, we have also had many guests on the show, Dr. Michael Ruscio. We had Zen Honeycutt from Moms Across America. We've studied the work of Jeffrey Smith. So we're well aware of the harmful nature of glyphosate. I mean, you guys, this is the most toxic substance that is being allowed to be sprayed on parks, in fields, across the world. We have farmers in Indonesia, farmers across the country that are being bankrupted by this company, Monsanto, that is actually, unfortunately, these farmers are drinking their own pesticides and committing suicide. We could go down the rabbit hole talking about all the deleterious aspects of the whole industry of glyphosate. But from a health perspective, what's the clear connection to what glyphosate does to perforate our gut lining and how glyphosate actually hurts us physically and emotionally?
Definitely. Well, we'll get into the real deep, dark, terrible part of this billion billions and billions dollar producer,
Oh
because
yeah.
that's what glyphosate does. It produces hundreds of billions of dollars of profit, which could then be redirected to defend its use, which is a horrible thing in itself. But we'll get to that. But here's the problem that I need to tie it back to, because I want people of science to understand. I want people of logic to understand. I don't want to be driven by fear, but there's a lot of reasons to be afraid of this stuff, okay? But I want the logic and the science to drive it. So they introduced the chemical and they told us it was safe because they produced scientific studies by, of course, people they paid, that showed that this chemical did not harm human cells, because human cells, as you know, did not have the same digestive pathway as, right, as the organisms in the field that they were trying to kill,
Yeah.
as plants do. And so they took that science and they sold it to us and they said, this can't harm you. And so they then began to use this chemical widely in agriculture associated with genetically modified food. Fast forward to the fact that you can't wash it off of the food. You can't cook it off of the food. You can't remove it from the food. And so if you eat the food, you eat the glyphosate. Now, what glyphosate did in the field, which was kill all organisms in the field that were not genetically modified. The chemical was created to kill all organisms that are not genetically modified.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get it in your body, you have all these organisms in your gut microorganisms, okay, called bacteria, okay? And these bacteria begin to die because this chemical was created to kill all organisms. And when the organisms in your gut die, they destroy a layer called the gut microbiome. And that gut microbiome is the defensive layer that sits on top of a series of villi, these little hair doors that open and close to allow food and nutrients in to the blood. But if it's not worthy of being digested, if it's not small enough, if it's not what you want, then it gets pushed out, turned into feces or urine, and eliminated from the body. And this whole defensive wall is layers of bacteria or organisms on top of these walls that allow food and nutrients to enter, called villi. Now, the chemical kills the bacteria, exposing the villi, which then open up and create what's called leaky gut. With leaky gut syndrome, then things that are not supposed to be in the blood go into the blood, and things that were supposed to be separated out, nutrients, never were. So they literally get excreted from the body, and we lose minerals especially. Minerals need to be digested to enter the blood barrier, but if they're not, they leave the body. And so glyphosate is causing mineral deficiencies, nutrient deficiencies, and toxicity within the gut. I don't want to go on forever, so the last thing I'm going to leave you with is the gut produces 80% of our immune response and 75% of our serotonin. The gut also is where we actually create things called stem cells, and human growth hormone is excreted because of chemicals produced in the gut lining. That gut lining I just described, that's destroyed by glyphosate.
So the big issue that we're all facing here is we could have leaky gut and not even know it. We could be eating all kinds of foods that are sprayed with this pesticide, which, by the way, what's the legal ramification of this? People don't have to know that they're eating glyphosate, right? Like the policymakers that have created this, they don't actually let people know that glyphosate is in these products. And by the way, can you even give us clarity on the organic model of this? Is 100% organic meaning that there is no glyphosate in those foods?
So I could tell you this, that organic is the safest space that you could go to. Okay. Does that mean that 100% of the time? No, I've seen about a 0.05%. So about a half of 1% of organic are cheaters, and we catch them because we've got 20 ways. And if I described how organic works, it is the most intricate accounting system to make sure not 1 gram of anything should be sold as organic if it can't be traced back. And okay, you know the marijuana laws, the cannabis laws?
Yeah.
You know how every plant has to be traced and how much is grown and they weigh it out and it has to be certified. And well, the same thing is true with organic. Every ounce of organic needs to be verified, where it was grown, how it was grown, and that it exists and certified before it enters the market. And if you sell more that has been certified to exist, they're going to find out how you did that. And trust me, it's so we catch people when they cheat. So
Yeah.
organic's the way to go, and growing your food at home is the way to go, and finding a company that you trust that really screens every ingredient is really important in today's world, where the regulators have been really broken down. I love deregulation. If there's a reason I like our current president, it's because he and I both believe in deregulation. But let's just admit that deregulation is a double-edged sword. It also means that some protections go down.
Let's talk
So
about
we
that a
have,
little bit,
yeah,
because I don't think we've ever explored that. When you say deregulation, how does that impact organic certification and soil testing and whatnot?
it doesn't. It impacts the food that you're eating that isn't organic.
Uh-huh.
You see, the government inspects other food. We pay to make sure our inspectors are working 24/7. We have to pay. It's the VIG, okay? And so if you don't pay the VIG, for those of you who don't know, the vigorish, that's like a little bit of money you got to pay to stay in business. Well, we have to pay to be organic, and they take all that money to watch us, to
Mm.
police us. Okay. And so it doesn't stop. Now in the federal system, the number of inspectors that come into my plant used to be once a month. Okay. Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And that was too much. I didn't like it, but now it's once every 2 years. And that's just no way, brother.
Yeah.
And while I didn't like them coming in every month, I've been to plants that they should be in every day. My competitors, who like I've gone in and seen the way they make products just to see if whether I could learn something from them. And I'm like, you make food in here? You make like supposedly health food in here? And so I'm scared for the food industry. If you're not certified organic, I'm doubly scared.
Yeah, that's why I don't promote any products at all that are not certified organic, because I've seen the wizard behind the green screen, man. It is not a pretty picture. Like, for people that don't know, there's a product that you have out there and I love it. It's actually like what attracted me to the company. This is what it looks like. It's called Biome Medic. And Biome Medic has something really, really powerful to it. It removes glyphosate, which I didn't think was possible. But then when I dug into the research, I understood, oh, this actually goes to the cellular system and extracts all these harmful glyphosate molecules, and then we excrete them out. Is it urine or feces? Like, give us the science on this, Dave, because so many people are like, how do I get rid of glyphosate? Like, this is how. This is actually the ticket.
Exactly. Well, everybody loves and they know how awesome, Shigalette and how awesome, the fulvic zeolite, and the fulvic acid in that is, you know what I mean? It's really awesome because it modulates stuff. Just to give you an idea, without fulvic acid, you can't move minerals from the soil into the roots of plants, and the plants can't move them into their roots, stems, and flowers without fulvic acid. And once you eat a food, the fulvic acid that remains in the plant, which is a mineral, actually helps the other minerals enter your body. Now, scientists wanted to prove that it was non-essential, so they removed it from the diet and the body stopped absorbing minerals. They had all the minerals except for that mineral, and while your body doesn't use it for one single chemical reaction, it delivers the minerals that provide the chemical reaction. So fulvic acid is amazing in that it modulates things and moves them around. Well, what we found was it actually modulates and lifts the glyphosate out of the body. It lifts it out of the tissue to make it available to be grabbed. And what grabs it are special bacteria that we've added in that sort of, the bacteria explode like when you blow off of a thing, and all the little spores go out from the dandelion.
Yeah,
right?
dandelion blow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we do that with bacteria. We put a little spore in there, and then it opens up, and boom, and a billion bacteria, and they're hungry. And what are they looking for? They're looking to attach themselves to certain things, and what they attach themselves to are stuff that will become waste in your body. And so we lift up the waste, we attach it, but then we got to move it out of the body, and so we put all the things in, 4 different ingredients that do that. We find it, we lift it, we grab it, and we move it out. And then we do one more thing. We begin to repair those villi. Now, the ingredient that repairs the villi was actually created by Albert Szent-Györgyi, a Nobel Prize winner who discovered vitamin C.
Sounds like a pretty intelligent dude.
He's pretty smart, and
Yeah,
I was
sounds like
lucky.
it. I love this because you have the hand in science, but you also have the hand in spirituality. So you're the author of the Green Foods Bible. You have a leadership academy. You run a company. If you're just tuning in live on Facebook, we're talking with David Sandoval, the co-founder, the CEO of Purium, a company that I love, that I stand for, that we've been working with for 6 months now. We've had a ton of people that have joined our team and really had an impact on their health and also their wallet, their financial health. We're going to get to this later on in the show where we talk about the financial impact of the social sharing economy. But Dave, when we look at the clear solution to first healing the gut by removing the glyphosate, what's the next step? What's the next step after we've taken out the bad? How do we get in the good? How do we get the good back in?
So before we get to that, I need to take a little step to let you know that, as you know, Jeffrey Smith's an awesome guy, and he tried to warn everybody about this whole genetically modified thing like long ago,
I think
right?
like 10 years ago, right? He was
Yeah,
back.
even yeah. And so the
Genetic
bottom
Roulette,
line
I
is
believe,
that
is what his film, right?
yeah. And so the bottom line is that he created an organization that would certify you if you're non-GMO. And we've all seen that certification, right? The butterfly with the non-GMO, right, movement.
Sure.
But they have another certification that they've never given to anybody, anti-GMO. Okay. And tens of thousands of companies have been certified non-GMO, but only one company has been certified anti-GMO, and that's us, for that product, because we also remove the chemical associated with GMOs and repair the gut from the damage done from the glyphosate. So now the question was, what do we do next?
What do we do next? I mean, we've taken out the bad. And thank you for that background, because thinking about how many people kind of poo-poo glyphosate, it's obviously a massive harmful ingredient. If someone was going to get cancer and it was found in a court of law, the U.S. Supreme Court, that Bayer Pharmaceuticals, who owns Monsanto, who is the provider of Roundup, where all the glyphosate in the world practically stems from, you guys, like, this is real. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is in plain sight. So I also wanted to stack that on there as well, Dave. Now that we've taken out the bad, the good comes in through organic superfoods, micronutrients, stuff that grows from Mother Earth. That's where we're from.
Well, first of all, what has now been missing? You need to get really high quality nutrients in your body. Now, I don't want to get into crazy science, but everybody could understand this. Your body is like a rental unit. You have to pay the rent. You have to pay the electricity, like the water bill, right? The trash bill and all of those things. Well, every single day, your body actually has a daily need, what's called a daily requirement, and science has determined this, of different nutrients, different minerals, and there's things science hasn't looked into yet, phytonutrients and anti-inflammatory compounds and detoxifying agents, And so every single day, your body needs certain bills paid, and those bills get paid, and if they don't get paid, then services get shut down. Okay. And so what I want to help you understand is that most people have never paid all their bills every day, and they have no idea what real health feels like. And when we show them, it blows their minds, man. And you know it because you've seen it happen to so many people already.
Sure.
And so all I do is I saturate your body with all of the organic nutrients from food that it needs. And once all of its needs are being met, okay, imagine you made a list of all your needs and somebody came and met them. Well, your body has needs that need to be met.
That's right.
And if you meet them for your body starts giving back to you in amazing ways. Okay.
Yeah.
So all I could say is that we have put together through, and I don't want to bore you, but, I studied Chinese medicine, and my teacher said, I asked him, what about these other things around the world? He said, oh, you don't need to study those. So then I went and studied Ayurvedic medicine, and I asked my Ayurvedic teacher, what do you think about the Ashaninkas? He said, you don't need any of that Amazon stuff. So I went to the Amazon and I studied with the Ashaninkas, and then I asked them, what do you think about this other stuff, and they said, from the shaman of North America, they said, oh, you don't need any of that. Everything you need is in the Amazon. And as I went to these 12 ancient cultures, each with a profound history of amazing, amazing healing knowledge, none of them believed they needed each other
Hmm.
because each had the discipline. And so I thought of Bruce Lee, and when he studied karate, and they said, don't study Muay Thai, but he did. Then he studied Savate, then he studied Jiu-Jitsu, and then he studied Capoeira, and I could go on. He studied 12 ancient arts, and then he took the best of them, right? And he made them his own. And so, I'm no Bruce Lee. I'm a humble servant. But I went humbly to each of these ancient cultures and asked that they bless me with secrets and knowledge that I could share with a world that was losing, very quickly growing dark.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the darkness is felt right now. Last night I was up at 4 a.m. and I was just feeling the collective pain body. And so where do we start? We start with where we are and we start with what we have. We don't, like you said, become a victim. You could have chosen to be a victim on the roof of that police car, but there was something within you, man. There was a divine spark. There was a fire within you that allowed you to go down this road, travel the Amazon, found Purium. Now we're reaching hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, across the world. Like, there is some kind of spiritual quotient, Dave, to what you do, man. What is that quotient? What's the recipe of spirit that you infuse into this business?
Well, I think just to put it really clearly, it's namaste, And people wonder, what does that mean? Is that like some spiritual thing? Could I be a Christian and say namaste? I want to tell you, if you're a Christian, namaste, okay? Because here's what namaste means. It means I honor the part of you that's the same as the part that's within me. And you know what's within you, that's within me, that's within every human is God. And so when we say namaste, we're saying I honor God within you. Because there is God within me. We are both children of God. If I disrespect you, I have disrespected God. If I hurt you, I have hurt God. If I turn my back on you, I have turned my back on God. Because whatsoever we do to the least of our brothers, remember that? Whatsoever we have done to the least of our brothers, that you've done unto me. That's what Jesus said. So so I want to honor like everybody and the God within them, and bring gifts to that temple. If your body's a temple, if you are built in the image of God, I want to bring gifts to your temple. That's my job as a humble servant.
Well, I just got to chill, so I know it's a good podcast. Whenever I get the chill, I'm always in that space. And now I'm at this really just precipice in my own business where I'm looking at what are the 5 companies or less that I'm going to partner with for the next 3 years. And I have to tell you, like, Purium's it. Purium's the one when it comes to organic superfoods and healing our gut and giving us natural melatonin release through tart cherry and having super aminos, which I want to talk to you about all these components of the transformation. There's so many, let's be honest, bullshit cleanses out there. I'm just going to say it. It took me 10 years, Dave. I'm so excited to do this because 10 years ago, I had an opportunity with a company called LifeVantage, and I had a mentor at that time, and I didn't like the way that he marketed, and it felt kind of weird. And then LifeVantage actually, they kind of went by the wayside. Purium has been around for how long?
So I've been doing what I've been doing in this company since 93.
1993.
And we decided to embrace the network marketing model because I saw the power in it.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago.
Yeah. There's a video we're going to link in the show notes and in the live today. And it was about disrupting and literally changing what you called, man, I love this, the dinosaur, like letting the dinosaur of direct marketing die, because there is something to be shared here that I'd love for you to close the gap on. There's the social sharing economy, which everyone participates in, but they don't get paid for it. And then on the other side of that, there is real healthy products that can change people's lives. Can you bridge the gap between those two and share with us what that's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. The most powerful things are always abused by people, because they see the power in them. I've seen people use the name of God to gain power, even though they didn't know God. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so the power of network marketing is the power that we've spoke about. And please forgive me when I say that drug dealers and pimps have been practicing network marketing since the beginning of time. Okay.
Right.
And I don't mean that we're drug dealers and pimps. I just mean that
Yes.
it's the most basic form of making money, because you don't need a structure that's endorsed by society to make it happen. Does that make any sense to you?
Sure. It's a totally different wheelhouse, but of course.
So I know that it's hard for people to embrace that analogy because we're not that. But I'm just saying that anything could be bad if it's good. That's
Yeah.
why I made that analogy.
Yep.
Free enterprise is amazing, but it allows for drug dealing and prostitution. You understand?
Yeah, the
But
duality is present there, like it
yeah,
isn't everywhere.
well, network marketing has a lot of pimps and a lot of dealers. Okay. Now do you get the analogy?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So it can be used for both sides, just like free enterprise, because it is the purest form of free enterprise.
Social sharing economy is different though. Social sharing economy, like for example, even before I had a podcast, I was making companies money and I didn't even know it. I was like sharing brands of foods and protein powders and all these things. And they were making money off of my Instagram, my Facebook, my life. They were making money off me without me even knowing it.
Exactly. So they used to call social sharing network marketing. And all it meant, and this always blows people's mind, they go, I would never do network marketing. I said, you've done network marketing your whole life.
Yep.
They said, really? I said, yeah. I said, you're just really bad at it. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, have you ever recommended a restaurant to all your friends because you love it? They said, yeah, a lot. You know, found a new vegan restaurant, told everybody about it. Yeah, you ever see a movie you like and tell your friends? Yeah, I'm sort of the movie guy. Everybody says, oh, you're the first one to see movies. How did you like that? And if I liked it, I tell them. I said, well, how many tickets do you think you've sold? How many meals do you think you've sold? And whoever paid you for that work that you did, right? You are networking with your friends and you're helping those people market, which means you are network marketing. And you've been doing it for as long as I know you because everybody listens to you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, so you've been networking forever and no one's ever paid you. All I'm saying is that's totally unfair. Those people are getting rich off of your recommendation and they should be sharing and giving you some free meals for that. So that's why I love network marketing, because it's so pure and true. And that's why I embraced it. So the difference between network marketing is, what are you selling and how are you selling it? I'm selling pure life-giving food in packaging that's not plastic. Okay. Most of the people I know in network marketing are selling food they say is awesome, but is really not. And they're selling it in plastic, right? And then the truth of the matter is that a lot of the promises they make about the potential of success are rather overblown. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. That's a nice way of saying that they're completely full of shit. Because we're allowed to cuss on this podcast because we're humans and humans sometimes cuss. The reason that I was burned 10 years ago is because I noticed in these direct marketing companies, they were using tactics of like manipulating people. And I'm a very heart-centered man. Like, I don't like manipulation. I don't like when people try to manipulate me. I have had pills, powders, ketosis packets thrown my way. Anything you could imagine has been presented to me. And you know what? Within 3 seconds, I was always like, nope. I just knew. And when it came to Purium, and especially with the types of influencers like Ronnie Landis and Troy Casey and some of my friends in the space that are so trustworthy and that are creating such a positive ripple in the world, I was like, okay, well, I'll at least give it a shot. So I tried the products and then it was like, boom. I am not a protein powder person. I am actually lactose sensitive, so I can't do dairy. So when I found this, I was like, cool, organic superfoods, super high integrity. They don't irritate me. There's no dairy. They're all vegan. They're farmed from sustainable places, which I'd love for you to share with us. I was just, all right, cool, I'm all in. And that was it. And then I learned about the business opportunity. I was just into it from a customer's perspective. I was just going to be a customer. And then the business opportunity came in and I was like, wow, this actually gets to be a cornerstone of Wellness Force. And I remember I was in Hawaii and I had met up with a few of your associates there. And I just made the decision. I was like, I'm totally all in. Not only am I all in, but I'm going to help other health and wellness influencers and other coaches and therapists and people that really don't have the types of tools to make their own products. Making your own products is extremely expensive. You guys have cracked the code. You're empowering people to do this. Share with us a little bit more about the model from like a business standpoint, and also talk more about the farm sourcing too. Those are two really big points for me.
Awesome. Well, the business model is really incredible because everybody sort of becomes a personal trainer, but they're a personal health trainer. You know what I mean? They don't have to create exercises. They could go and learn a series of exercises and show people how to do them. And our programs are just food exercises. You have to do so many of these and so many of those and so many of those each day, day after day after day. It's like exercising the inside of your body. And when people say, why should I exercise the inside of my body? I ask them whether they shower, whether they brush their teeth, whether they wash their hair. And when they say yes, I say, well, how often? And they say, well, teeth a couple, 3 times a day,
Yeah.
shower sometimes every day. I said, well, once you start like cleaning the inside of your body, you're not going to think it's something you could do once and then walk away. Just like the first time you took a shower, you didn't say, well, I'm clean now. I don't need to do that again.
Right.
I'm out of toothpaste. I don't need to buy more. I'm out of toilet paper. I don't need to buy more. Once you develop certain hygienic habits, you don't stop them. And Purium is an internal hygiene. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, because we don't necessarily need to like clean ourselves one time in the morning. The world's a dirty place. The world's get dirty, and it gets dirty inside of ourselves too. So we need to clean the inside and the outside.
So what I've done is I looked at the basic human need and I said, how could I, fulfill it? And when I looked at food and where it came from, the problem kept getting bigger, more magnified, more disgusting. Okay. And I could bore you, but it goes back to 1890 with the Chicago Board of Trade, where foods got turned into commodities to be graded and sold by their color, their taste, all these things, their size, their sweetness. And that's how we got red winter wheat and white hard, all those different categories and grades of meat, whether it's USDA, Well, all these things were created by the Chicago Board of Trade to commoditize things, to determine how much they cost and how they could be traded and sold. Well, food's not a commodity. It grows different from every soil, in every region, from every farmer, from every seed. So what they tried to do was turn food into a commodity by making every farmer use the same seed. There were 112 apples. Now there's 6. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like now and the same thing can be said. So when we turned food into commodity, then it needed to be like have a longer shelf life. So we needed preservatives, and then it all needed to be the same color because it was a different color. So we needed to put artificial color to make sure it was always the same color of red, no matter where it was sold, from California to New York, Alaska to Hawaii to Mexico. And it all had to look the same all the time because consumers demanded that. Oh, so they told us, right? We didn't demand that at all. They told us that's what we wanted. That's what media does. Well, guess what? We woke up one day and our food had artificial fat, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, artificial colors. They had binders, fillers, excipients, and preservatives, and they were grown with chemicals that eliminated pests and chemicals that eliminate herbicides and pesticides. And all we did was add glyphosate to that? Are you kidding me? We just came and like hit a grand slam with glyphosate, just knocked it out of the park if you want to kill people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So our food got destroyed. But you know what? 100 years ago, all food was pure. 100 years ago, none of these chemicals existed. None of these dyes existed. None of these fillers existed. None of these preservatives existed. No trans fats existed. But you try to find a food that doesn't have that, it's 1% or less. About 3/4% of food in America today does not have one of those things that I just said to you.
Yeah.
And every one of them could kill you. Am I going on too much? So let's talk about
the challenge here, Dave. I'm just listening to you and I'm visualizing, because I like to do this when I podcast, especially on a video podcast. I'm visualizing all the farms out there that have these massive tanks of liquid glyphosate and pesticides that they're walking around and they're spraying. But this is the kicker. People wear an entire bodysuit because that stuff is toxic to their skin. So hear me out, everyone. Like, let this land. If you have to spray something on food that you're going to eat with a suit being worn because it's toxic for your skin and it'll burn your skin, don't you think it's going to burn the insides of your body the same way? Like, just let that land from like a logical perspective. Now take it to a spiritual perspective. If we're making farmers use only one pesticide, one monocrop for thousands and thousands of yards, when Mother Nature knows best, like she likes to diversify crops, then the farmers are under the control of Roundup and of these pesticide companies. Everything's about control. It's all control, 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 control. So the big take home and the question for you, Dave, is this. What is Purium doing to help out the real farmers that are not using the artificial things, the pesticides? And how do your relationships with them help our planet, our spirit, and humanity beyond just foods that taste good?
Such a great question. Could you still hear me? I just adjusted my headset.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, well, there's 2 parts of that. So I need to tell you about the New Romans. So hold that, and I'm going to tell you about our farms. So we were selling rice bran solubles that were not organic. And people would call me and say, why isn't the Power Shake organic? I said, all the ingredients are except for one. And if you just trust me, I'm working on it, right? Well, finally, it was always pure. It wasn't certified organic yet. So I went to Thailand and we found 200 farmers who were about to go under contract to Monsanto. And we told them, if you'll grow for us, we'll form a cooperative. We'll guarantee you how much you get paid. It's called fair trade, okay? We'll guarantee you a pre-sold contract that's going to guarantee your family for the next 5 years has security and income and can plan for the future. And we formed that cooperative and we culled 200 Thai farmers to grow rice for us organically away from Monsanto. And your money did that. The fact that you trusted me and bought enough rice bran solubles for me to be buying millions of dollars worth of rice bran solubles and then take that as a big stick and say, you can't have my millions of dollars anymore unless you're organic.
Yeah.
And then I forced the change. And then we made the world a better place. Okay. So I could go on and on about that, but I could give you dozens of examples of where we forced change in agriculture in the United States, of course.
Yeah.
So let me explain to you in one sentence, I hope. When you have what's called regenerative agriculture, it means that you put enough back in every year to where eventually the land gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and it takes about 3 years before land can be certified organic, 5 years in some cases, because you have to start that momentum going, putting inputs, giving back to the land, giving back to the land. You keep giving back to the land before you ask it to give to you. Modern farming does not do that. Modern farming just pours a bunch of chemicals into the soil, plants seeds, puts water, and then sells that to you. And so, so organic agriculture not only doesn't use chemicals, it not only doesn't use pesticides and herbicides, it not only doesn't use genetically modified foods, it also regenerates organisms, not just in your gut, but in the soil, on the topsoil. That absorbs, the whole cycle. I don't need to get into that eco cycle, but that's why organic agriculture is so important, because it has organisms living in it. The chemicals that are sprayed on other farms kill all the organisms in the soil. It means that's a big dead zone. That's an entire dead zone of life, and that can't be good for our planet.
I remember when I was in Hawaii and they were protesting the Monsanto spraying that they were doing there on multiple islands. People don't know this. And this isn't about demonizing anyone. This is about shining light on the truth of what's happening in our world from an agricultural standpoint. Monsanto is a very dark energy. It's a dark energy that is controlled by the masculine that's coming up right now, that's also being shown to us in many different ways, the unhealthy masculine. There is a balancing, Dave, that we're experiencing, the balancing of the masculine and feminine. How does Purium help us do that? Because people might look at this like, oh, it's just food, but it's balancing people's energies within themselves. There's an energetic component to this.
Thank you so much. Let's get back to our gut, okay? Have you ever had a gut feeling?
Of course.
Okay. Have you ever been so hurt emotionally that it felt like you got punched in the gut? And you're just like, oh, right? Like when a dear friend died or something, right? A relative. Have you ever been so happy that your belly laughed, that you had a belly laugh?
Sure.
And it was like jelly in your belly. What do we keep coming back to? Our gut feeling, right? You get punched in the gut, you belly laugh. You know why? Because there's a powerful hormone that gets emitted by the lining of our stomach called serotonin. And serotonin has this magical effect in that it helps you to create happiness and joy and love and harmony. Okay. And it doesn't let you go into sort of these reptilian reactions,
Yeah, where we get hijacked by our biology. We all know what that feels like.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when y'all know that when you can't say anything bad to somebody who's happy, and you can't say anything good to somebody who's unhappy. Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening right now, and you know that the way that Purium supports divine feminine and divine masculine, because without one, there cannot be the other. First of all, is by creating these unlimited opportunities for both economic freedom and time freedom. Moms used to be locked at home. Now they're rocking Purium, making 10, 20, 30,000 dollars, not a year, brother, a month. Okay. And we have, people, moms with special needs, autistic kids, or maybe a Down syndrome child, or maybe just, they choose to homeschool, and opportunities were shut to them. And Purium opens those doors, and they're making $2,000 to $5,000 to $7,000 a month. Just, you know what I mean? In 10
Yeah.
hours a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's the most important thing. I'm just going to give you some economic figures. The average millennial's making 35,000. The average male head of household makes 50. The average female head of household makes 45. The average black male head of household makes 44. The average, black female head of household makes about 38, and the average Hispanic head of household makes about 36. Who's a woman, female head of household. So right now at Purium, I would say that 80 to 90% of our members are female. And I will tell you that when you hit our rank of diamond, you're making about what a millennial makes. When you get up to like blue diamond, you're making about what an average male head of household makes. And when you start reaching into our higher ranks, and we have dozens of women doing this, you're making the top 5%, the top 2% of earners in America. And we have dozens of women who probably never made more than $2,000 a month, making $20,000 a month or more. When you give people economic power, you give them power, period. Okay? When you give people freedom. And so we are a place where the glass ceiling for women has been destroyed. Okay?
Amen.
And again, when we've never, ever asked anybody their gender, their race, their religion, or their age, except to make sure you're 18 when you become a Purium member, because your check doesn't recognize that. So Purium is absolutely what I call a level playing field. Purium is an unlimited opportunity. And here's the greatest part. The barrier to entry, and you know what barrier to entries are for opportunities, right?
Yeah, especially for a podcast and for everything else in the world.
Yeah, I can only imagine. When I was on radio in New York, it was costing me almost $30,000 a month to be on two 50,000-watt stations. So I know.
That's right. Podcasting is not free to produce.
It's not.
There's a cost involved.
And look at the service you're offering, So I want to thank you. I want to honor you. And I want everybody who's listening right now to know that you work hard. If you don't know, this man works hard. His staff had to work with my people to get all organized for this. It's not easy. So thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, you're so welcome, man.
But what Purium does is we take that agricultural concept of putting in before we ask to take out, and Purium really gives to our brand partners. We give you tools, we give you training, we give you support, we give you everything you need, just like we do to the soil. We keep giving and giving and giving to the soil. And then, the soil begins to give back. And so Purium only grows if you grow. Like, you know what I mean? The farmer only grows if his crops grow. Purium only grows if you grow, and you only grow if you help your community.
Yeah.
So by extension, Purium wants to help your community, but we can't do it without you. We are powerless without you. And so we need to empower you with tools, training, all of these things. And so this is the greatest opportunity, because we're in the midst of massive growth, and we need to reach more communities. We need people like you. And I'm not saying that you have to be part of what I do. I'm just saying that, right now I just desperately need people to help me reach the people who need this, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And a fact about you that I know is true is that you don't pay yourself like normal CEOs do. And that right there is the biggest barometer for me. Most companies, I was thinking about this way before I even joined Purium. I was thinking every single person is in a quote scheme at their employers. The CEO makes like 80% of the wealth, and then the last 20 is trickled down with everyone else. It's the opposite with you. Like, you don't pay yourself like a normal CEO. Why did you choose to do that?
So just to put that in perspective, and this isn't to brag, but I've done about $500 million in business, and I don't think I've paid myself $1 million in that time. So just put that in perspective. Most CEOs pay themselves millions of dollars each year, sometimes a month. You know what I mean? So for a company, that sells the volume that we sell in 70 countries, and across the United States, I just don't take that for myself. In fact, our company hasn't made money, and the banks aren't real happy about that. And when they ask me why, I say, because I pay out my people a lot.
Yeah.
I do clinical studies that other people wouldn't do to prove that I could remove glyphosate from food. No one's paying for those clinical studies. I had to do that, right? And I helped create a plastic alternative made out of bamboo and hemp, because if I was going to grow to be a massive company, I didn't want to create more plastic. If I doubled in size, that meant I created twice as much plastic. If I grew 10 times, it means I created 10 times as much waste. I couldn't let that happen. So before I grew, I had to invest in a plastic alternative. You understand?
Yeah.
Before I grew, I had to invest in proof that what I was saying I was doing, I was actually doing. Otherwise, I was just one of those snake oil salesmen that we were talking about earlier, bro.
Yeah. And then they're the ones that are actually contributing to the decimation of our microbiome in the soil and the way that Mother Earth is being hurt. I can't say the name, but it's someone who's been on the show before. And she's a very renowned neuroscientist. And she had a journey recently. And on her journey, she was given this message by ayahuasca and by spirit that Amazon is raping me. Amazon is killing me.
Yes.
Because what's happening is we perceive value from getting cheap goods and boxes and all this stuff fast and cheap and free delivery and Amazon Prime. And what we're doing is we're trading and we're sacrificing our love for our brothers and sisters and for Mother Earth in the name of comfort, in the name of getting the free thing or the cheap thing. But I'll tell you, my friends, it ain't free. The interest is coming. And some of the interest that we're seeing is from COVID. And some of the interest that we're seeing is from our air. And some of the interest that we're seeing is from obesity rates skyrocketing and depression and suicide. Like, the shit is real. The shit has hit the fan, in my opinion. It's time for us to take a collective deep breath and assess, where do we go from here? And I think this really begs my next question, Dave. Where do we go from here is we start taking care of the world inside of ourselves. Gandhi talked about it. The Chinaman in Tiananmen Square talked about it and put it into action. Loving ourselves, loving the world within ourselves, start with how we eat, move, sleep, and breathe. When we do that, everything else outside of us is going to rearrange. Can you share how this movement and these products are helping to do just that?
So, one of the most important things that we need to do is to be strong. When we talk about freedom, if you're not free from disease, if you're not free from, illness, if you're not free from being sort of beholden to a system of medicine, you know what I mean? Or any systems, then you're truly not free. And so I already forgot the question because I was so interested in my answer. But the bottom line is that I believe that freedom is the most powerful motivator. Just we haven't tapped into it in so long. We've been so not free for so long. And when people finally taste freedom, and I'm talking Purium people that I know, when they finally start living where they want to live and working the hours they want to work, waking when they are rested and resting when they're tired, eating when they're hungry, taking the days off they need and choosing the people that they work with, and they never ever thought that that could be possible, and then they're making money that they never ever thought could be possible, and all of a sudden they're no longer spending money on gas for their car, which is better for the environment. They're no longer spending money on cheap food that's provided to them by whether it be Starbucks or anybody else, right?
Yeah.
They're no longer having to overspend on lunches that they're eating out and and pay for clothes to be dry cleaned with toxic chemicals. You know what I mean? They're no longer, and so many of the things that we are doing is reducing. And other people think the economy is grown by completely increasing.
Yes.
And so what I want to ask people is, who do you know that makes dresses? Who do you know that gardens? Who do you know that does anything that you don't have to go back to a big box anything if you could help it, to a chain anything if you could help it, to a massive corporate owned anything if you could help it? Because if there's a brother or sister who's earning their money to feed their children by making clothes or fixing cars or whatever it is, watching kids or cleaning houses, I want everyone to start spending their money with their brothers and their sisters who are part of a home-based business, who create and craft jewelry with their hands. You know what I mean? Could you support me with that? Could you give some other examples?
Yeah, I mean,
That's
what I'm feeling is this, like every single thing you're talking about is a return back home. That's really what we're discussing here is we all make a certain amount of money right now, and we all make that money in a way where maybe we love it, maybe we don't. But we choose, this is the key thing, Dave, we choose to spend our money that either contributes to the growth and the expansion of consciousness and the healing in the world, or we choose the other side, which is, I'm going to sacrifice the world and my brothers and sisters and everything else in the name of I only have $1,000 this month. And you know what? I'm not shaming anyone here. I get it. I have been there. I have been there royally, like crying on a golf course at 4 a.m. type, like $5 in my pocket. You know what I mean? Like I've been there, and I know you've been there too. But some of the examples are, instead of going to Costco and getting like 15 flats of eggs, why not just eat a little bit less eggs, do more breath work, be out in nature more, and go buy some eggs from your local farmer's market once a week? Like that is one example, you know? Other examples might be like contributing to companies for Purium, where they're actually partnering with farms that are attached to this sustainable, like you said, the infrastructure for regenerative agriculture. There's so many little steps we can take. Another one that comes to mind too, man, is water. Think about this. People are still buying plastic bottles of water. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, right? So just invest in 5 of the BPA-free bottles, or glass preferred, and then go to your local water depot and get some fresh water. Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but then you can spend less on soda. You can start adding in things that serve the world and serve our healing, and naturally the things that hurt it will go away.
And I'm telling you, the investment you make, and I don't know a brand, maybe you could recommend one. I personally use Big Berkey, but that's just because I'm a prepper guy, you know?
That's a good one, yeah. I've seen those.
But, yeah, and so like, what did it cost me? A couple $100, and I haven't spent money on bottled water in like 4 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
If you're buying bottled water, stop. That's like one thing you get from this
really
podcast.
That's
a big one, man. Well, I want to save a little bit of time because we had some questions about the product. There was someone who mentioned a brand. I'm not going to mention the brand, but Bryce said, I've been supporting my body with another company, always looking for other good, clean choices. Not many clean, true nutrition companies out there. Bryce, we feel you. Like, that's why it took me 10 years to partner with Purium. Let's talk about this a little bit. There's the one product that's Apothecary. There's the second that we already talked about, which is the Biomedic. There's also these aminos. And the last one is the Super Cleanser. This is the program that I'm actually starting. And then I forgot this one. This is the Power Shake. I'll notice all these, by the way, they're all the bamboo, the biodegradable. And I think by 2021, you're going to be plastic free as a company. Share with us these products and how you put them all together. And then I'm super excited to invite everybody to the team where they can actually do this program with me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to start with going to bed. I'm going to start at night, because before you go to bed, you have to realize that like literally 95% of Americans do not get the proper amount of sleep necessary to allow for what's called 2 hours of deep sleep. And during deep sleep is when your body programs all of your tissues, how much fat you're going to burn, your immune system, like you actually process all the information for memory, for recall, for intelligence. All of this happens during 2 hours of critical sleep, and most Americans, 95%, do not get it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to do is give you deep, restful sleep by infusing your body with our Apothecary, which is nature's only natural source of melatonin. but it also is loaded with anti-inflammatory and antioxidant phytochemicals. That means it calms your body down, cleans it out, and it is one of the most potent anti-aging foods you will ever consume. That means you're going to wake up looking younger within 3 days. Mark my words, take a picture. 3 days, you're going to wake up looking like you just had a spa vacation. Okay, that's number one.
A spa in a bottle.
You're going to wake up, and when you wake up, your body craves protein. Your body craves protein because it produces hydrochloric acid overnight. Okay, the problem is most of our sources of protein come with a byproduct that's called uric acid that's very toxic, and actually destroys a lot of our body systems and could lead to lupus and multiple sclerosis, but we know it leads to gout. That's one thing we know for sure. So we give you this amazing pre-digested vegan protein. You put it into your body with almost 0 calories, and it immediately starts to rebuild the muscle you lose while you're sleeping. Did you know that every night while you're sleeping, you lose muscle because you're just laying there in atrophy?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
There's no motion. So the first thing we do in the morning is restore the muscle you lost while you're sleeping. Hello? Okay? And so this is really important. And then the next thing is all those nutrient pathways are now craving food. There's a little vacuum in your nutrient pathways. We're going to fill all of those. We're going to totally fill all the nutrient pathways with the Power Shake. Okay? So at night, it's the cherry. In the morning, it's the aminos, and then the Power Shake. And by doing this, and there's science behind this, I'm not going to bore you with it, but in the morning, your body has a board meeting. It gets all the players together and says, what's today going to look like? And that is called the nutrients it receives first. So if you get up and have a stimulant like coffee and sugar and a donut, your board meeting of your body says,
yes,
this is going to be like not such a great day. We better take a bunch of precautions, and literally your stress level immediately rises.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to interrupt you. It's just to bookmark that too, because we've had
please.
so many people come on the show that talk about histamine levels as well. When you start your day with stimulants and caffeine and sugar and all these things that really are abrasive, it's almost like rubbing your skin. That's what it's doing to the inside of your body. You have a histamine response, your inflammation goes up, you start retaining water. This is actually a tool to give yourself that morning that we've been designed for. This is a life by design, Dave, the way that you've done this. And this is why I like the order and the sequence that we're talking about here. But please continue. I had to add that in because most people don't know about the histamine response and the inflammation from caffeine and sugar first thing.
Absolutely. That's such genius, perfect time to interject that, because we set this signal for our body every morning. And then, so there's an old saying that says, that our thoughts become our actions become our habits, and our habits become what we are and who we are. And that's never more important than food. We are what we eat. We become what we have eaten emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so just think about junk now and fill in the blanks. And so what Purium tries to do is then give you the gut health. We give you the Biomedic, which repairs the gut. That's the fourth thing. Now, 3 times a year, I want you to do what Josh is doing right now, which is purge parasites. Parasites can also impact our digestion, just like leaky gut. Parasites can also impact our emotions. Did you know that parasites could cause like crazy emotional swings and crazy nutritional deficiencies?
100%. They also have a different cycle of wake and sleep that we do. So if you have a bunch of energy at night, you may have parasites.
Absolutely. And so what we want to do is we have to realize that, parasites take about parasite eggs take about 20 days to hatch. And so I give you a 10-day, really amazing parasite, solution. And I want you to take it for 10 days and then take 20 days off. And during those 20 days you're not taking it, we're going to allow for any unhatched parasitic eggs to become babies. And then we take it for another 10 days. And that's going to do a complete first and second sweep. But if you just do one sweep, they're probably going to come back faster. You know what I mean?
So you do 2 sweeps of the cleanser.
Correct.
Yeah.
2 10-day sweeps. Now, if you eat sushi, if you go swimming in rivers, streams, or lakes, if you like to eat raw food and you don't thoroughly clean it, you don't know who's handled it, if you like to soul kiss your girlfriend, there's a good chance that you are going to pick up a parasite. You know what I mean?
So a lot of people got parasites then.
That's my point. And so
Yeah.
that's why I do this, and I'm sorry to bore you, but I do it 3 times a year,
It's
bro.
definitely not
Just to
boring.
make
Yeah.
Okay, just because it's not a one-time solution like
Sure.
like that shower brushing the teeth thing that I talked about earlier.
Yeah. Thank you for the enlightenment, Dave. This has been so powerful. We have wellnessforce.com/team up on the screen. You can join to be a part of the Wellness Force team. You can join to take the products, do the cleanse with us. We're starting on July 7th. So July 7th, after people have had like the holiday weekend, to really dig into what I believe is the most powerful cleanse and nutrition program on the planet. I haven't seen anything like this, and I've been in the industry for like 17 years. So Dave, we covered a lot of ground. If you could wave a wand and maybe in 5 years from now, the impact that Purium is making on the world looks like this, what would that be?
So in order to do that, I want to back up like 5, 10, and 15 years and say that I said that so many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I first entered, there was not certified organic food. Okay. There was absolutely so many things that didn't exist. And so I said, I want a world where there could be certified organic food and the people who want to eat without chemicals could know that they've got a safe space. And we made that happen, right? And then I did radio in New York City, and I was on a 50,000 watt station, and I answered questions all day, hours, day after day, week after week. And I wrote down all the questions that people asked me, and I said, I want to create a company that has an answer to all these questions. And I created that company called Purium. Okay. And then when I looked at Purium, I said, I need to find a way to make Purium accessible to the masses. And that's when I created, this hybrid where I took a broken system of network marketing and I retooled it, and I went in and I added integrity and I added love. Okay. Because that's what was missing from most network marketing companies. And then I added true, honest financial opportunity. I'm going to say true and honest financial opportunity. And so now I've delivered that. So I've taken these 5-year steps, right? So, and during that time, because I told people that my food is pure and yours wasn't, okay, I've seen dozens of other companies start making pure food. And because I keep saying my food's organic and yours is not, I see lots of other companies starting to make organic food. And now I'm starting to say my food's in non-plastic and yours is not. And I want to see hundreds of other companies start to make their food in organic. And when I say that I've empowered thousands of women to break the glass ceiling and thousands of minorities to reach equality that they never imagined, okay? Because it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. The dream never ends, And so thank you for allowing me to voice this mission and to be part of it. And in 5 years, what I want to see is a world that doesn't use plastic, a world that doesn't see color or gender. I want to see a world that doesn't want for health care because they have self-care. They've replaced a need for health care, no offense, Mr. Obama, but a need for health care with true self-care.
Yeah.
And that way, when we do provide health care for all, it doesn't bankrupt this nation, right? It's for the true emergencies and not because you haven't taken care of yourself. I'm just going on and on.
I think you should be in politics, man. I'm glad you're in the health field, though, because we need more men out there like you. So just incredible amount of gratitude in my heart for you, for Purium, for Ronnie, for Troy, for all the people that have been helping, for Skylar, and for all the people that have been an influence in me in joining with this company. If you are feeling the inspiration, reach out to us. Just go to our page right now. It's wellnessforce.com/team. You can join the team. Like we talked about, there is almost zero barrier to entry. You can have your own business like today, and you can be part of the Wellness Force team. Dave, the big mission for us in 2020 is about healing mental health. It's about healing human beings, men and women. however you identify, heal our mental health. We cannot do that unless we look at the gut and we look at how our biome is affected in ourselves and in Mother Earth. How do you define the quotient of wellness? As we say goodbye, as people are feeling inspired, how do you define wellness? You know, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional. What does that even mean to you to live life well?
You know, if you're not happy, you're not well. If you don't feel free, you're not well. If you don't feel loved, and if you don't love something, you're not well. And so I want you to go out and I want you to love. I want you to accept love. I want you to find freedom. And I hope that Purium could be a vehicle for all those, but it doesn't have to be Purium. Just know that those things are important. Don't stop believing in them. Don't stop believing that you deserve it, that you're worthy of it, and that you're capable of it. That's what I'm asking you to do.
Dave Sandoval, deep bow for you and what you're doing across the planet, man. I'm thinking about the farmers that are in your field. I'm thinking about all the healthcare practitioners, all the moms that you're empowering, and just all the human beings that are just tired. Let's just face it, everyone. We are exhausted with the ivory towers. We're exhausted with how things have been. This is the new world that we're creating together, and we're doing it starting with the world and ourselves. Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people connect with you personally? Obviously, we're going to send them to wellnessforce.com/team for all things Purium and joining our team. But what about you, man? I know you do a lot of teachings. I think you're on Instagram at 3:33 in the afternoon doing teachings.
Yeah, you know, but first of all, I want to say that look at this beauty, Skylar, this amazing goddess, you know, from Hawaii, you know, fire dancer, mama energy. And then she, you know, and Troy, this like man tribe, you know, just macho dude. And look at the teacher and all the wisdom, you know, that we find from Ronnie. This guy's like an encyclopedia on feet, right? And so look at, and they have brought us to you. And you, brother, you're like, I don't know, man, you're just shining such wisdom and light into the world. So, I mean, I'm just saying that this is what Purium attracts.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. I just am in such gratitude for you and for your lineage and just for all of that, bro.
Thank you, Dave. And thank you to everyone that joined us here on Facebook. Obviously, wellnessforce.com /team is the page. But Dave, what a really incredible conversation, man. I look forward to the next one. We'll talk to you soon.
Brother, okay. So much love.